Are you familiar with this feeling? The feeling of being invisible in a relationship where, of all people, you should be the one who's seen the most? You give warmth, care, and attention, but in return, all you get is silence, a distant look, or a brief when you try to start a conversation. You try to be interesting, easy to be with, understanding, but the more effort you put in, the more he seems to pull away. It's like you're banging on a closed door, and all you can hear behind it is the hum of his own life, completely separate from yours. That's when you start to ask, at first with subtle hints, then more and more desperately, for attention, for an evening together, for just a simple human connection. But a request that comes from neediness never earns respect. It only leads to irritation or, even worse, condescending pity. Your energy, instead of drawing him in, starts to push him away because it carries the tone of begging, not strength. But what if I told you that the way to his heart, and even more importantly, the way back to yourself, isn't through asking, but through one simple, decisive, and quiet action? Not to ask, but to reclaim, to take back from him what you've been giving away too freely, devaluing both yourself and your gift. Carl Jung, the great explorer of the human soul, would say that this dynamic is predictable. We don't lose our power when we're unloved, but when we stop being the center of our own universe. When we willingly give that center away to someone else, we're committing an act of psychological self-destruction. And taking it back isn't about revenge or manipulation. It's an act of psychological restoration. It's about reclaiming your rightful place at the center of your own life. What you need to take back isn't a physical object. It's not his time or his freedom. It's all the invisible energetic threads you've used to tie yourself to him, turning yourself from a self-sufficient person into his emotional extension. And as soon as you start reclaiming these things one by one, a void will appear in his world, a void that you used to fill. And this void will force him to turn around, to see you in a new light, and to truly wonder for the first time, who is she without me? And why does her absence feel so intense? Today, we're going to start this quiet revolution. I'm going to tell you about the 8 things that make up what you need to take back from him, so that he starts seeking your attention on his own. This isn't just a set of techniques. These are the stages of your journey toward wholeness. And when you complete this journey, his attention won't be the goal anymore. It'll just be a pleasant bonus to your newfound power. The first thing you need to take back from him, his central role in your universe. Be honest with yourself. Who is the sun in your solar system? Who do your thoughts, plans, hopes, and fears revolve around? If it's him, then you're not really living your own life. You're living as his reflection. Every day starts with thoughts of him and ends with anxiety about him. Your mood depends on his calls, your self-esteem on his compliments, your plans on his schedule. You've become a satellite orbiting someone else's planet, forgetting that you are a star yourself. Jung would call this a complete loss of connection with yourself. According to Jung, the self is the true center of the psyche, your authentic I. When you move the center and put someone else in its place, you betray your primary life task, the process of individuation, of becoming yourself. You stop being the author of your own story and become a supporting character in his narrative. Taking back that central role from him is like starting a Copernican revolution in your soul. It means consciously and firmly declaring, I am the center of my universe. This isn't selfishness. It is psychological survival. It is reclaiming your throne. What happens to a man when he realizes he is no longer your son? At first, confusion. He's used to your energy always being focused on him. He's used to being the one who controls your emotional state. And suddenly, he feels the flow has stopped. He no longer gets the constant supply that used to feed his ego. It's like he's looking into a mirror that no longer flatters him with an exaggeratedly beautiful reflection. His first reaction might be irritation, or even accusing you of being cold. This is his shadow, his own insecurity crying out in fear of losing control. But if you stand your ground, if you don't fall back into old habits, his confusion will turn into curiosity. What's going on in her world? What has become more important to her than me? What new, unknown power is making her shine from within, not just with my reflected light? He starts to see you not as someone who exists just to serve his sense of importance, but as a separate, mysterious world he wants to discover. He can't take you for granted anymore, because you're no longer just a part of him, you become a self-sufficient world of your own. And to enter this world, now he has to do more than just exist. He has to make an effort, seek you out, and earn your attention. Here's how to do that in practice. Start a project that has nothing to do with him. It could be learning a new language, starting a blog, volunteering, or taking dance classes, anything that sparks a fire in your soul. Don't make decisions based on your own desires, not his possible reaction. Want to go away for the weekend with a friend? Go. Don't ask for permission, just state it as a fact. Fill your life with events and people that make you happy, without involving him. When he calls and asks what you're up to, your answer, "I'm busy, I have interesting plans," won't sound like a reproach, but simply as a statement of fact. Your universe has once again found its own center, and that center is you. Asterisk, asterisk, the second thing you must take back from him, your constant availability. Asterisk, asterisk, your 24/7 availability is a poison that slowly kills your value in his eyes. You reply to his texts in a second, drop all your plans for a spontaneous meeting, cancel on your friends because he might call. You've become his emotional fast food, always on hand, easily accessible, and therefore not valued. Jung would say that a lack of boundaries is a sign of an undeveloped personality that has not separated itself from the world. Your constant availability is the cry of your shadow, which fears loneliness and rejection. If I'm not always online, the shadow whispers, he'll forget about me. He'll find someone else. I'll be alone. And by obeying this fear, you are digging a grave for his respect for you. The psychological law is simple: we do not value what comes without effort. A scarce resource is always valued more. By taking back your constant availability, you transform yourself from a public resource into a rare artifact. You are not playing hard to get. You are simply starting to respect your own time and your own energy. Now, as soon as he encounters your unavailability, his familiar world collapses. He sends a text, you reply hours later because you were engrossed in your own life. He suggests meeting tonight, you politely decline because you already have plans. At first, he feels frustration. His ego, accustomed to instant gratification, is outraged. How can this be? She was always here for me. But after the frustration comes a realization: her time has value. Her life is filled with something other than waiting for me. This creates intrigue. What is so fascinating in her world that I've been moved to the background? He starts competing for your attention, not with other men, but with your own life, and this is the healthiest competition that can exist in a relationship. He starts planning meetings in advance. He starts to appreciate the time you give him because he knows it's not infinite. Your yes gains weight because he knows you could have said no. Your presence becomes a gift, not an obligation. How to take back your availability: create a digital detox ritual. Turn off your phone for a few hours every evening. Let this be your time for yourself, for reading, for a bath, Force silence. Don't reply to messages instantly if you're busy. Finish what you're doing. The world won't end, and your value in his eyes will only increase. Fill your calendar with plans that are important to you and don't cancel them for him. Let him learn to fit into your life, not the other way around. Stop being the one who always initiates contact. Take a break. Let silence do its work. If he needs you, he will show up, and if not, you've just received invaluable information without wasting an ounce of extra energy. By taking back your availability, you take away his certainty that you will always be waiting at his doorstep, and it is this lost certainty that makes him start knocking on your door himself. Asterisk. The third thing you must take back from him, your role as his emotional mirror. Asterisk. Many women, without realizing it, become the perfect mirror for a man. They reflect back only his best qualities, smooth over his rough edges, admire his strength and intelligence, and silently approve of all his actions. You become his personal self-esteem booster. He comes to you to see himself as great, wise, and infallible, and you dutifully provide him with this reflection. From a Jungian perspective, you are taking on a dangerous function. You are helping him maintain his persona, his social mask, his idealized self-image, and more importantly, you are preventing him from meeting his shadow. All his doubts, weaknesses, fears, and selfishness remain hidden because your mirror refuses to reflect them. You create a comfortable, illusory world for him where he is always the hero. But in this world, there is no room for growth and there is no room for true intimacy, because intimacy is only possible when two real individuals meet, not a persona and its adoring spectator. To take back the role of the mirror means to stop being a passive reflector and to become a living person with your own opinion. It means allowing yourself to disagree, to doubt, to see a situation differently. This doesn't mean criticizing or belittling him. It simply means being honest. When the mirror stops showing him the familiar, perfect picture, the man is shocked. He says something he is absolutely sure of, and you suddenly say calmly, "You know, I see it differently." Or he talks about something he did, expecting admiration, and you remain silent. And in your silence, for the first time, he senses not approval, but a question. His first reaction is defensiveness. You don't understand me. Whose side are you on? This is his persona, fighting for survival. But if you remain calm and don't get into an argument, something amazing happens. For the first time in a long time, he is forced to look at himself not through your eyes, but through his own. He is forced to confront the part of himself he has so carefully hidden, his shadow. This is a painful, but necessary process. And the woman who is not afraid to stop being a convenient mirror becomes not just a pleasant companion for a man, but a catalyst for his own growth. He starts to see you not as a function, but as a person who sees him completely, both his light and his shadow. And it is this that gives rise to the deepest respect. He understands that you can't be manipulated. With you, he has to be genuine. How do you do this? Practice saying, "I have a different opinion." Say it calmly, without aggression, simply as a statement of fact. Stop giving automatic approval. If you don't like something he says or does, allow yourself to stay silent. Your silence will speak louder than any criticism. Ask him questions that make him think, not just show off. Not, "How was your day?" but, "What new thing did you learn about yourself today?" Not, "You're so smart," but, "Why do you think this is the right way to go?" By stopping being his mirror, you give him the greatest gift, the chance to see his true self. And you give yourself the chance to be seen as an equal, complete, and deep individual. And this is the kind of attention that can't be faked. Asterisk, asterisk. The fourth thing you need to reclaim from him, your energy spent on solving his problems. Asterisk, asterisk. You've become not just his lover, but also his mother, therapist, personal assistant, and crisis manager all rolled into one. His problems at work become your problems. His conflicts with friends become your headache. His bad mood becomes your number one priority. You pour a massive amount of your life energy into trying to save him, fix his problems, and make his life better. You're playing the role of the rescuer. Jung would say that you've activated the great mother or savior archetype within yourself, but in its shadow, destructive form. Instead of nurturing and supporting him, you start to smother him with your care, taking away his chance to walk his own path and find his own strength. Every time you solve a problem for him, you take away his chance to become stronger, wiser, and more responsible. You believe your help is a sign of love, but in reality, it's often a sign of your own fear, the fear that if you're not useful to him, he'll leave you. You're trying to buy his affection with your usefulness. Now, reclaiming your energy from his problems is the greatest act of respect you can show, both to him and to yourself. It means trusting that he is an adult who can handle his own challenges and that you are not his crutch, but his partner. When you stop rushing in to fix his latest problem, at first, he feels lost. He's used to you always being there to offer a shoulder, give advice, comfort him, and carry part of his load. And then, suddenly, there's silence. You empathize, but you don't get involved. You say, "I believe you'll find the right solution," and you go on with your own business. This forces him to take action. He has to tap into his own resources, which had been dormant because you always did everything for him. He starts to grow, and after facing difficulties on his own, he doesn't feel resentment toward you, but gratitude. He realizes that you believed in him more than he believed in himself. He starts to appreciate you not for what you do for him, but for who you are, for your wisdom in not interfering, for your strength to stay on the sidelines, for your calm presence that says, "I'm here with you, but your path is your own." This creates a completely different kind of intimacy, the closeness between two strong, self-sufficient people, not between a rescuer and a victim. How to do this? When he complains about a problem, don't be quick to give advice. Ask the question, "And what are you going to do about it?" Give the responsibility back to him. Learn to say the phrase, "I'm sorry you're going through that. It sounds really tough. I'm sure you'll figure it out." And that's all. Don't offer your help unless he specifically asks for it. And even then, think about whether you might be taking away his chance to grow. Now, focus your energy on solving your own problems and reaching your own goals. When he sees how passionately you're building your own life, his problems will seem less important, and your strength will become even more attractive. By reclaiming your energy from his problems, you stop acting like his mother and become a woman whose faith in him motivates him to take action, not just sit back and wait for help. The fifth thing you need to take back from him, your need for his approval. Every outfit you put on, every thought you have, every decision you make goes through an invisible filter. What will he think? Will he like this? You're constantly seeking his approval, like a student in front of a strict professor. His praise makes you feel like you can fly. His silence or criticism throws you into despair. Your self-esteem has become a hostage to his preferences and moods. Jung would explain this as the dominance of the persona, the mask we wear to please others. Your real personality, your true self, is buried under layers of wanting to be a good girl in his eyes. You're afraid to show him your true desires, your uncomfortable thoughts, your quirky hobbies, because you're scared of losing his approval, and with it, you believe, his love. But a love that's built on the need to constantly meet someone else's expectations isn't love at all, it's slavery. Real intimacy is born when you can be yourself, and you're accepted exactly as you are. Taking back your need for his approval is declaring your emotional independence. It means starting to dress for yourself, to say what you really think, to do what actually makes you happy, not just what you think will impress him. When a man senses that you're no longer seeking his approval with every move you make, he gets confused. He was used to being your main critic and judge. That role gave him power, and suddenly, you're taking that power away from him. You dye your hair a color he might not like. You start reading books he thinks are boring. You voice an opinion that goes against his. He loses his means of control. He can no longer manipulate you with his approval or disapproval. You become unpredictable, free, and as a result, incredibly fascinating. He starts to see you not as something he created to judge, but as an independent work of art, something to be admired and tried to be understood. His attention shifts from judging to exploring. Why did she do that? What motivates her? He starts to notice the depth and complexity of your personality, which the good girl mask used to hide, and this realization sparks a genuine attraction, not because you fit some standard, but because you're unique. So, how do you actually do this? Before you do or wear something, ask yourself, am I doing this for me or for him? If the answer is for him, stop. Let yourself have secret gardens, hobbies, and interests he might not even know about. This is your own personal space, and entry is by invitation only. Practice disagreeing. When he states his opinion as if it's the absolute truth, let yourself smile and say, that's an interesting point of view. I see it differently. Stop reporting. You don't have to explain every decision you make. I feel this way, or I just wanted to, are perfectly good reasons. By letting go of your need for his approval, you reclaim your right to be yourself. And it's this authentic, imperfect, but truly alive version of you that becomes the most desirable woman in the world to him. The sixth thing you must take back from him, your need to fill the silence. Think back on your moments together. How often, when there's a pause in the conversation, do you feel a wave of anxiety and immediately rush to fill the silence with meaningless chatter? You talk about your day, your friends, the news, anything just to keep the silence at bay. You believe that silence means he's losing interest, that it's a sign things are ending. Jung would say that this fear of silence is really a fear of facing the unconscious, both yours and his. Silence is the space where true feelings, the ones that words can't hide, rise to the surface, and you're afraid of what might come up in that silence. What if there's nothing there but emptiness? But feminine energy, the true anima, is naturally silent and contemplative. It's not found in words, but in presence. Masculine energy, the animus, is about action, words, and logic. By filling the silence with nervous chatter, you're acting from your anxious inner masculine side, and you're suppressing your feminine power. Reclaiming your need to fill the silence means giving yourself the luxury of being comfortable in silence. It means trusting that your presence alone has value and doesn't need words to prove it. When you first let the silence linger, it will be a test for both of you. You'll have to fight the urge inside to say something. He might feel awkward, too. But if you can stick with it, something magical will happen. In that silence, for the first time, he'll truly sense your energy. Not your words, just you. He'll start to really look at you, noticing little things he never saw before. The curve of your neck, the way the light plays in your hair, a thoughtful smile. Silence creates a space for a kind of intimacy that goes much deeper than words ever could. In the silence, he doesn't just hear you, he hears himself next to you. He starts to sense whether he feels comfortable, whether he feels at ease. And if he feels good in that silence with you, it becomes the strongest anchor for him. He'll be drawn to you, not to talk, but just to be, to exist in this atmosphere of peace and acceptance that you create with your comfortable silence. He realizes that with you, he doesn't have to constantly perform, prove himself, or entertain. With you, he can simply be himself. And in today's world of noise and rush, that's the greatest relief and the greatest gift. Your silence becomes his safe harbor. How can you learn this? During conversations, intentionally take pauses. Don't rush to respond. He falls silent. Don't hurry to rescue him from the silence. Take a deep breath and just look at him warmly. Find things you can do together that don't require talking, like taking a walk in the park, listening to music together, watching the sunset, practicing meditation, or simply sitting quietly by yourself. When you make friends with the silence inside yourself, you'll stop being afraid of it outside. By pulling back your anxious chatter, you offer him your full, calm presence. And that's the kind of attention he'll want to come back to over and over again. Asterisk, asterisk, the seventh thing you must reclaim from him, your willingness to forgive instantly. Asterisk, asterisk, he makes a mistake. He hurts you with something he says or does, and before he can even say a proper, "I'm sorry," you're already rushing to forgive him, to reassure him, to tell him it's okay. You're afraid of conflict, afraid of making him feel guilty, afraid of tension in the relationship, so you put out the fire almost as soon as it starts, smothering it with your endlessly forgiving nature. From a Jungian perspective, you're refusing to integrate your shadow, your anger, your pain, your sense of justice. These are important parts of your personality that let you know when your boundaries have been crossed. By suppressing these feelings and forgiving right away, you're not being generous. You're actually disrespecting yourself. You're telling him and yourself, "My feelings don't matter. My boundaries can be crossed." Forgiving too easily doesn't teach him to value you. It teaches him that his actions have no consequences. He gets a constant free pass for being thoughtless, rude, and selfish. Why would he change if he knows he'll always be forgiven? Your constant forgiveness doesn't heal the relationship. It becomes a poison that seeps in, making things shallow and stripping away real respect. Taking back your habit of forgiving instantly is a way to make his actions matter. It means letting him experience the consequences of his behavior. This isn't about getting revenge or nagging him for weeks. It's about letting a healthy tension build between you, one that's necessary for awareness and real change. When, after he's done something wrong, you don't immediately run back to him but instead stay distant, cool, and withdrawn, he feels uncomfortable. He realizes that his "sorry" didn't work like a magic spell. He sees your pain. He's forced not just to say he's sorry, but to actually feel it, to feel that he's caused real harm. This makes him focus not on how to get your forgiveness faster, but on how to make sure it doesn't happen again. He starts to realize that your affection isn't guaranteed, it's something valuable that he could lose. He begins to fear hurting you, not because he's afraid of your anger, but because he's afraid of losing the warm connection you shared. Your forgiveness, when it finally comes, will be incredibly valuable. It won't be something automatic, but a conscious decision, and he'll treasure it as the greatest gift. How to do this? When he's hurt you, don't start an argument. Just become quiet and distant. Your coolness and distance will say more than any shouting ever could. When he says, "I'm sorry," don't reply with, "It's okay," but instead say, "I need time to process this." Don't let him buy his way out with gifts or compliments. Let him know that trust is rebuilt through actions and time, not just words. Allow yourself to feel your anger and pain. don't bottle them up. Acknowledge those feelings. Only by truly experiencing these emotions can you forgive sincerely, not out of fear. By not giving forgiveness too easily, you teach him to respect your feelings and your boundaries. You show him that love isn't just about happiness, but also about responsibility. The eighth thing you need to take back from him is your tendency to project the savior role onto him. Somewhere deep inside, you believe that he is the one who will make you happy, that with his arrival, everything in your life will fall into place. You think your problems will be solved and your inner emptiness will be filled. You project onto him the image of a savior, a hero, the prince who will come and rescue you from a dull reality. You expect him to give you what you're missing: confidence, joy, a sense of purpose. As Jung would say, this is the surest way to end up disappointed and dependent. When you project the responsibility for your happiness onto someone else, you give up your own power and your own journey towards self-realization. You become the eternal damsel in distress, always waiting for your knight. But in real life, knights get tired of rescuing and go looking for queens who are their equals. No one can fill the emptiness inside you. Trying to do that through someone else is a kind of energetic vampirism. You subconsciously expect the impossible from him, and as he feels this unbearable weight, he starts to pull away. Taking back the role of your savior from him is the most important, and the hardest, step. It means turning to face your own life, your own emptiness, your own demons, and saying, "This is my responsibility. My happiness is in my hands." When you stop projecting this onto him, he feels an enormous sense of relief. An invisible weight is lifted from his shoulders. He no longer owes you anything. He can finally relax and just be himself, not some mythical hero. And the paradox is that it's exactly when you stop expecting anything from him that he actually wants to give you more. He sees in front of him not a needy girl, but a self-sufficient woman who is the source of her own happiness. She doesn't demand, doesn't wait, doesn't drop hints. She simply lives her own full, interesting life, and he wants to be a part of that life, not because he owes her anything, but because he's drawn to her light. Her happiness isn't a responsibility for him, but rather an attractive aura he wants to be around. He starts to care for you, not out of obligation, but from a genuine desire to make happy a woman who is already happy without him. And this is a completely different level of relationship, a union of two suns, not a planet and its savior. How do you do this? Figure out what brings you joy that isn't connected to him. What makes you happy? Music, nature, creativity, time with friends? Make these things a regular part of your life. Now, stop complaining to him about your life. Share your joys and discoveries with him, not your problems. Learn to handle your emotional issues on your own. Feeling sad? Go for a walk, call a friend, or write your feelings in a journal. Don't run to him for comfort. Build a life for yourself that you would love even if there were no man in it. Become your own savior, the one you've been waiting for all this time. By reclaiming the role of savior from him, you gain the greatest freedom, the freedom to be happy on your own. And this freedom makes you so attractive that he'll want to be near you, just to bask in the glow of your inner light. What you're taking back from him isn't just 8 habits or roles. You're reclaiming your soul, which you gave away piece by piece in the hope of finding love. You stop being his satellite, his mirror, his mother, his therapist, and his life raft. You give all those roles back to yourself. You become the center of your own universe. You become your own mirror. You become your own support. And then something miraculous happens. The man who never noticed you before suddenly starts to see you, not because you've become flashier or louder, but because you've become whole. Your energy no longer leaks out toward him. Instead, it starts to gather within you, creating a powerful gravitational pull that attracts rather than chases. His attention, his care, his desire to be close to you stop being the main goal of your life and instead become a natural result of your inner transformation. He seeks your attention not because you've played some clever trick, but because being with you feels like encountering something real, strong, and vibrant. He is drawn to you the way a plant is drawn to the sun, instinctively, unconsciously, because being near you helps him grow as well. The path I've described isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a choice you make every day, every hour, in favor of yourself. There will be setbacks. There will be doubts. It will be scary. But every time you reclaim another piece of your power that you once gave away, you'll feel your wings start to spread. Stop seeking attention, start radiating it from within, and then the whole world, not just one particular man, will look at you with interest and admiration, because there is nothing more attractive than a woman who has finally come home to herself. If this message resonated with your soul, share it. Let there be more women who have reclaimed their power. Let the world be filled not with those who beg, but with those who shine.